New constellations. 8 months passed with the grinding slowness that only separation can create. Neil and Theo had relocated to the Central Research Hub, where Neil's expertise in adaptive botanicals earned him a position on the diplomatic science team. His reports on Lysithian physiology, carefully edited to maintain professional distance, had become required reading for the treaty negotiation team. Theo had adapted to their new life with resilient flexibility. Though he still arranged small crystal formations in their apartment garden, memory maps that grew more elaborate with each passing week. Ambassador Sato is requesting your presence at the preliminary treaty discussions, Neil's supervisor informed him one morning. Apparently, the Lysithian delegation specifically asked for your input on the proposed botanical exchange program. Neil's heart raced as he entered the diplomatic chamber, scanning the assembled alien delegates for a familiar face. Disappointment settled heavily when he realized Velo was not among them. Dr. Ferris, the lead Lysithian representative, acknowledged him. Your work on compatible growth environments has been most illuminating. However, we require additional expertise on implementation. I'd be happy to provide whatever assistance. Not you, the delegate interrupted. We have arranged for specialized consultation. The chamber doors opened and Neil's carefully maintained composure shattered. Vela entered, her formal diplomatic attire unable to disguise her identity from him. Their eyes met across the room, violet meeting brown, in silent recognition. Ambassador Sato has requested your presence at the preliminary treaty discussions, Neil's supervisor informed him one morning. Apparently, the Lysithian delegation specifically asked for your input on the proposed botanical exchange program. Neil's heart raced as he entered the diplomatic chamber, scanning the assembled alien delegates for a familiar face. Disappointment settled heavily when he realized Velo was not among them. Dr. Ferris, the lead Lysithian representative, acknowledged him. Your work on compatible growth environments has been most illuminating. However, we require additional expertise on implementation. I'd be happy to provide whatever assistance. Not you, the delegate interrupted. We have arranged for specialized consultation. The chamber doors opened and Neil's carefully maintained composure shattered. Vela entered, her formal diplomatic attire unable to disguise her identity from him. Their eyes met across the room, violet meeting brown, in silent recognition. Ambassador Sato has been appointed as permanent liaison to Earth's botanical initiative. Her unique familiarity with our research methods makes her ideally suited to the position. The formal meeting proceeded with excruciating professionalism, technical terms and diplomatic protocols filling the space that emotion could not. Only after the final agreements were signed did Vela approach him directly. Your application to the diplomatic corps was quite impressive, though I believe it may have received priority consideration from certain influences. You arranged my transfer? A hint of her familiar smile appeared. Let's say I made your qualifications known to those who needed to hear them. That evening, after formal permissions and security protocols were satisfied, Vela arrived at their apartment. Theo's joyful tackle hug broke through any remaining formality, his excited chatter about school and their new garden filling the awkward spaces between adults who once knew each other intimately but now stood on uncertain ground. He's grown, Vela observed when Theo finally settled into sleep, his room decorated with the crystal formations he had maintained in her absence. Children do that, Neil replied, keeping a careful distance between them in the small living area. And you, have you changed as well? Instead of answering, Vela removed a small device from her formal attire and activated it. A holographic display sprang to life between them, architectural plans for a structure unlike anything in Earth's repertoire. The Lysithian consulate has approved construction of a cultural exchange center in the neutral zone. It will require a botanical research director with expertise in adaptive species from both worlds. Understanding dawned slowly. You're offering me a job? I'm offering much more than that, she said, deactivating the device and closing the distance between them. Her hand, those 5 fingers he had memorized, reached for his. My people value bonds formed through genuine resonance above all else, even traditional diplomatic marriages. After considerable debate, The consulate has recognized that such resonance exists between us. The kiss that followed held none of the desperate farewell of their last encounter. Instead, it carried the promise of beginning rather than ending, a bridge between worlds rather than a divide. 3 months later, under the light of twin suns, Neil watched as Theo raced through the gardens of their new home, the boys' laughter mingling with the calls of native fauna. The Cultural Exchange Center rose in elegant spirals nearby, its architecture blending Lysithian aesthetics with Earth practicality. The adaptive hybrids are thriving in the East Quadrant, Vela noted as she joined him, her diplomatic attire replaced with practical gardening clothes. Your theory about compatible root systems was correct. Our theory, he corrected, pulling her close. Her body fit against him with familiar ease, no longer foreign but simply home. Their living quarters filled gradually with memory crystals, marking first the official recognition of their union by both governments, then the successful germination of the first truly hybridized Earth Lysithea plant species. The most recent edition celebrated the arrival of adoption approval for a young Lysithian girl orphaned in the border conflicts. 4 crystals becoming 5, a complete constellation, Vela murmured as they arranged the new stone. As twilight descended on their shared world, Neil looked at the family they had created, human, Lysithian, and something beautifully in between. Different worlds had not kept them apart, but instead expanded the definition of home. Echo across stars, he whispered against her temple, feeling the familiar pulse of light beneath her skin synchronize with his heartbeat. And find each other again, she completed, their private ritual of connection. In the garden beyond, new growth reached skyward, roots from different worlds intertwining beneath the soil, creating strength through difference rather than sameness. Their story, like the hybrid plants they tended, would continue to grow in unexpected and resilient ways. Proof that what flourishes between worlds creates something entirely new and precious.
First contact. The hull of Helios 7 groaned as Mira Chen docked her research vessel against its weathered exterior. The abandoned space station had drifted at the edge of the Cygnus system for centuries, its mysteries untouched since the disappearance of the last research team. Mira checked her environmental suit's seals and oxygen levels one last time before pushing away from her ship's airlock. Commencing exploration of Helios 7, she reported into her comm unit. Day 1 of Xenobiological Survey. Her supervisor's voice crackled through the static. Remember, Dr. Chen, we need tangible results. The Foundation didn't fund this expedition for another set of inconclusive findings. Mira sighed. I understand, Director Novak. Chen out. As a xenobiologist specializing in extinct civilizations, Mira had staked her reputation on the theory that Helios 7 contained evidence of the Lamidians, an ancient spacefaring species whose technology had supposedly transcended conventional physics. Her colleagues had dismissed her research as fantasy, but the discovery of crystalline fragments in nearby asteroid fields had earned her this solo mission, her last chance at validation. The station's corridors were eerily preserved, dust floating in strange patterns that defied the artificial gravity. Mira followed her scanner's readings toward an energy signature emanating from the station's core. Hours of careful navigation through darkened passageways led her to a sealed chamber with markings unlike any human language. This is it, she whispered to herself, heart racing as she traced the symbols with her gloved fingertips. The door responded to her touch, sliding open with a soft hiss, to reveal a breathtaking sight. The chamber beyond was alive with light, countless crystalline structures growing from floor to ceiling, pulsing with a soft blue radiance. At the center stood a pedestal, supporting what appeared to be a translucent orb filled with swirling energy. Mira approached cautiously, recording everything with her suit's cameras. Incredible! These formations don't match any known crystalline structures in our databases. They wouldn't, came a voice from behind her. Mira spun around, nearly losing her footing in the low gravity. Standing in the shadows was a figure, humanoid, but clearly not human. His skin had a faint luminescence, with intricate patterns that shifted like constellations. His eyes were deep pools of violet that seemed to see through her, rather than at her. "Who are you?" Mira demanded, reaching for the pulse pistol at her hip. The stranger raised his hands in a peaceful gesture. I am Talon, guardian of the Nexus. I've been waiting for someone to find this place, though I expected my own people, not yours. Mira kept her distance, scientists' curiosity warring with caution. Your people? You're Lumidian? A smile flickered across Talon's face. That's what you call us. Interesting. We named ourselves differently. He moved toward the central orb, his movements fluid and graceful. This is what you came for, isn't it? The resonance artifact. My people created it to bridge minds across vast distances. A communication device? Mira asked, stepping closer despite herself. No, much more than that. It doesn't transmit words, but experiences, emotions, entire lives. His hand hovered over the orb, causing it to pulse more brightly. Touch it, he said softly, his gaze meeting hers, and discover what you've been seeking all these years. Mira hesitated, every scientific protocol warning against such reckless contact. Yet something in his voice, in those ancient eyes, compelled her forward. She removed her glove slowly. Will it hurt? She asked. Talon's expression softened. No, but you will never be the same. Her fingertips trembled as they approached the glowing surface. The moment she made contact, light erupted around them both, and Mira felt her consciousness expanding beyond the confines of her body, reaching toward his.
Hidden dangers. The corporate vessel, sleek, black, and bristling with weapons, took up position on the far side of Helios 7 within hours. Mira watched from the observation deck as the shuttle detached from the larger ship and moved toward one of the station's auxiliary docks. Meridian Industries, she muttered, recognizing the logo on the hull. They specialize in weapons development. Talon stood beside her, his body tense. If they gain control of the resonance network, they could weaponize it, create devices that manipulate emotions, implant thoughts, even tear minds apart. We need to protect the artifact, Mira said. Can we move it? No, it's connected to the station's core, but there are defenses we can activate. Talon's expression was grave. The station's security systems have been dormant for centuries. Reactivating them requires a deeper connection. I understood immediately. Another resonance, but stronger. They returned to the crystal chamber as the sounds of the intruders echoed through distant corridors. The mercenaries were methodically searching the station, getting closer by the minute. This will be different from before, Talon warned, as they stood before the artifact. A complete synchronization. Our minds fully merged. Will we still be ourselves afterward? Mira asked, suddenly afraid. Talon took her hands in his. Yes, but the connection between us will be permanent. You'll always feel echoes of my thoughts, as I will yours. His voice softened. It's a decision to make lightly. Mira thought of everything waiting for her back on Earth. A sterile laboratory, skeptical colleagues, a lonely apartment. Then she looked at Talon, whose existence had somehow become intertwined with hers in mere days. The choice was startling in its clarity. I'm ready, she said. They placed their hands on the artifact together. This time, the merging was deeper, more intimate than anything Mira had experienced. She felt herself flowing into Talon as he flowed into her, a complete exchange of memories, feelings, and sensations. His centuries of loneliness crashed against her years of academic isolation. His alien perception blended with her human understanding. And beneath it all, something unexpected. A growing warmth between them that transcended physical attraction, a connection more profound than either had known was possible. Through their joined consciousness, they accessed the ancient station systems, Defensive barriers activated, sealing off sections of Helios 7 and trapping the mercenaries away from the central chamber. When they finally separated from the artifact, Mira stumbled backward, catching herself against a crystal formation. The connection remained, a constant awareness of Talon's presence in her mind, his emotions flowing alongside hers. That was... Words failed her. "I know," he replied simply, because now he truly did. A distant explosion rocked the station. The mercenaries were trying to blast through the barriers. "They're persistent," Mira said, checking her scanner. "And they've called for reinforcements." Talon's expression darkened. "There's something you should know. Your director Novak, I saw him in your memories, but also in the station's records. He's been here before, decades ago." "What?" Mira's shock rippled through their connection. "He knows exactly what the resonance does," Talon continued. "He sent you here not as a scientist, but as bait to draw me out." Mira felt her world tilting. "That's impossible. He's been my mentor for years." "Look," Talon said, projecting images from the station's archives through their shared connection. "There was Novak, 30 years younger, standing in this very chamber with a team of researchers." As the truth settled over her, their connection resonated with shared betrayal and resolve. Together, they watched the mercenaries' progress through the station's sensors. "We need a plan," Mira said, her hand finding Talon's, their fingers intertwining naturally. The patterns on Talon's skin shifted to match her determination as they prepared to defend not just the artifact, but their newfound bond, a connection that neither had expected, but both now realized they couldn't bear to lose.
Trust and betrayal. The station's alarms blared intermittently as Mira and Talon huddled in a maintenance shaft, reviewing the schematics and Helios 7 through their shared mental connection. Every few minutes, they could hear the heavy footsteps of Meridian mercenaries passing by their hiding place. "Novak wants more than just the resonance technology," Mira whispered, her mind racing through possibilities that Talon could perceive as clearly as his own thoughts. "These memories you've shown me, he was testing the artifact on human subjects." Talon nodded grimly. "Your director discovered that repeated exposure to the resonance creates permanent neural pathways. He wanted to develop a method of controlling those pathways, essentially programming human minds." "Mind control technology," Mira said, disgust coloring both her voice and the emotional resonance Talon felt from her. "No wonder the Foundation backed my expedition despite ridiculing my research publicly." A message crackled through Mira's comm unit, making them both freeze. "Dr. Chen." Director Novak's voice was calm, reasonable. "I understand you've made contact with the station's guardian. This is exactly what we hoped for. The alien has valuable knowledge that could advance humanity by centuries. Please bring him to Docking Bay 3 so we can arrange safe transport." Mira switched off the comm without responding, but a flicker of doubt had already crossed her mind, a flicker that Talon instantly perceived through their connection. "Are you considering his offer?" Talon asked, the patterns on his skin shifting to jagged, angular formations. "No," Mira said quickly, but part of you wonders if I've shown you the complete truth." Talon moved away slightly, creating physical distance to match the emotional withdrawal she felt through their bond. "Our connection is still new. How can I be certain of anything? A week ago, I didn't even know your species existed, and now your thoughts are intertwined with mine." Pain flickered across the bond, his pain at her doubt. "The resonance cannot fabricate memories, Mira. It can only share what truly exists." "Then share more," she challenged. "Show me everything about Novak's previous visit. No fragments, no glimpses. Everything you witnessed." Talon hesitated, then placed his forehead against her. Through their connection, he opened the complete memory.
Novak and his team discovering the artifact, their initial wonder turning to greed as they realized its potential. The experiments on unwilling subjects, station personnel who had been told they were testing a new communication device, the gradual corruption of their minds as Novak refined his techniques. And finally, Talon's intervention, using the station's defense systems to force Novak to retreat, but not before the director had gathered enough data to continue his research elsewhere. When the memory transfer completed, Mira was shaking. "I'm sorry I doubted you," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "All these years, I thought he saw potential in me as a scientist. Instead, he was grooming me for this moment, sending someone the Guardian might trust." Talon wiped away her tears, his touch gentle. "We've been used by those we trusted, you and I. My people promised to return from me once the danger had passed. After centuries of waiting, I realized they had abandoned this outpost, and me with it." Their shared vulnerability created a new depth to their bond. Mira felt the last barriers between them dissolving as she leaned forward, pressing her lips to his. The kiss sent shock waves through their connection, amplifying the sensation beyond physical touch, a perfect feedback loop of emotion and desire. "We need to destroy the artifact," Mira said when they finally separated. "It's too dangerous to exist if people like Novak can access it." Talon's expression grew troubled. "Destroying it would sever our connection, Mira. The pathways would fade without the resonance to sustain them." The implication hung between them, a choice between their newfound bond and the safety of countless minds across the galaxy. Before they could discuss further, an explosion rocked the station. The maintenance shaft's door blew inward, and armored mercenaries poured through the opening, weapons raised. Behind them stood Director Novak, a thin smile on his face. "Dr. Chen, and you must be the Guardian. I've waited 30 years for a proper introduction."